She was thrown out with nothing but a torn suitcase and a broken heart, yet only weeks later, the same people who called her worthless stood speechless as she stepped through the gates of their mansion wearing a wedding dress beside the billionaire they believed would never even learn her name. What no one knew was that the greatest love stories are often born from the deepest humiliation, and sometimes rejection is only life making room for a miracle. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing emotional stories that remind us goodness always finds its way back. Clara Whitmore had spent nearly 6 years working as a maid inside one of the grandest estates in the city. Every sunrise found her polishing marble floors that reflected chandeliers worth more than everything she owned. Every afternoon she arranged fresh flowers, ironed expensive clothes, and quietly disappeared before the wealthy family entertained their distinguished guests. She never complained because life had taught her that dignity did not come from wealth but from character. After losing both parents in a highway accident years earlier, she had learned to survive through honest work, believing that every difficult season eventually passed. Even those who barely noticed her gentle smile admitted she never left a task unfinished and never answered cruelty with bitterness. Unfortunately, kindness often became an invitation for cruel people to take advantage. The estate belonged to the powerful Hawthorne family, whose business empire reached across construction, finance, and luxury hotels. While the elderly housekeeper appreciated Clara's work, the owner's daughter, Vivian Hawthorne, treated every employee as though they existed solely to absorb her frustrations. Vivian had grown accustomed to admiration and obedience. Whenever something went wrong, she searched for the nearest servant to blame. Clara became her favorite target because she never argued. One bright afternoon, guests arrived for an important charity luncheon. Every room sparkled. Every table looked flawless. Clara had spent hours preparing everything alongside the kitchen staff. Just as the event began, one expensive crystal vase unexpectedly tipped over after a playful family dog brushed against the tablecloth. The vase shattered across the polished floor. Before anyone could explain what happened, Vivian pointed directly at Clara with icy certainty. Without listening to witnesses or examining the scene, she accused Clara of carelessness, disrespect, and sabotage. The accusation spread through the guests like wildfire. Humiliated before dozens of strangers, Clara tried to explain that she had been arranging flowers on the opposite side of the room, but no one wanted the truth. Vivian demanded that security escort her outside immediately. The elderly housekeeper quietly defended Clara, insisting the dog had caused the accident, yet her voice disappeared beneath Vivian's anger. The estate manager reluctantly handed Clara her final paycheck and apologized with tears in his eyes. Clara packed her small suitcase, thanked those who had treated her kindly, and walked through the enormous front gate into the warm afternoon sunlight, carrying nothing except a few clothes, cherished photographs of her parents, and a heart struggling not to break. For several days Clara searched tirelessly for work. She visited hotels, cafes, offices, and boutiques, but recommendations mattered more than experience, and news of her dismissal had spread unfairly through wealthy circles. Many employers assumed she had been careless simply because the Hawthorne family claimed so. Rejection followed rejection until her savings nearly disappeared. Still, she refused to surrender to anger. She volunteered at a neighborhood food pantry during her free hours because helping others reminded her that hardship never erased compassion. One sunny afternoon, while distributing food boxes, Clara noticed an older gentleman struggling to carry groceries across a crowded street. Without hesitation, she rushed forward and offered assistance. The man thanked her warmly, surprised that someone clearly facing difficulties herself would stop to help a stranger. During their walk, he asked about her life, and Clara answered honestly without seeking sympathy. She never mentioned the luxurious mansion or the humiliation she had endured unless asked directly. Her humility impressed him far more than dramatic stories ever could. The gentleman introduced himself simply as Theodore Grant. Clara had no idea that Theodore was one of the country's most respected entrepreneurs and the founder of Grant International, a corporation whose success quietly surpassed even the Hawthorne empire. Theodore rarely revealed his identity because he believed genuine character appeared only when people expected nothing in return. Over the following weeks Theodore occasionally visited the food pantry. Each visit confirmed what he had already suspected. Clara treated everyone with equal respect, whether they arrived wearing expensive business suits or worn-out shoes. She remembered children's names, comforted lonely seniors, and shared her own lunch whenever supplies became scarce. Theodore realized that her greatest wealth was invisible. One afternoon he invited Clara to interview for an administrative assistant position at one of his charitable foundations. Clara nearly declined, convinced she lacked the qualifications. Theodore insisted that integrity could not be taught as easily as technical skills. She accepted with quiet gratitude. The foundation quickly discovered what Theodore already knew. Clara learned rapidly, organized complicated schedules, solved problems calmly, and earned everyone's trust. Employees appreciated that she thanked janitors as sincerely as executives. She refused special treatment despite Theodore's growing admiration. Meanwhile, the Hawthorne family encountered unexpected financial trouble. Several risky investments collapsed, forcing them to seek partnerships with larger corporations. Ironically, the strongest potential partner was Grant International. Negotiations began during a series of daytime business meetings. Vivian eagerly anticipated impressing Theodore Grant, believing her social status guaranteed success. She arrived wearing elegant designer outfits and rehearsed polished speeches, unaware that Theodore cared far more about honesty than appearances. When Theodore entered the conference room accompanied by senior staff, Vivian confidently greeted him. Then the doors opened once more. Walking beside Theodore was Clara. The silence that followed felt heavier than thunder. Vivian stared in disbelief as the former Maid calmly organized presentation materials, greeted executives professionally, and confidently discussed community outreach projects. Clara carried herself with quiet confidence born not from revenge but from self-respect. Theodore noticed Vivian's uncomfortable expression and later asked privately why she seemed disturbed. Believing Clara would never reveal the past herself, another executive who had independently investigated Clara's background explained everything, including the false accusation and humiliating dismissal. Theodore listened without interruption. He was not angry because Clara had suffered. He was disappointed because powerful people had abused their position against someone who could not defend herself. Rather than publicly humiliating the Hawthorne family, Theodore made a different choice. He insisted every future negotiation include fair treatment of all employees as part of Grant International's ethical standards. He explained that companies unable to respect their own staff often fail to respect their business partners. His words reached far beyond financial agreements. Vivian began recognizing the consequences of her pride. Former employees who had remained silent finally admitted they had witnessed Clara's innocence. Even the estate manager confessed he had regretted lacking the courage to oppose Vivian that afternoon. The truth emerged piece by piece until denial became impossible. Clara never celebrated their embarrassment. She focused entirely on her work. Months passed, and Theodore's admiration quietly grew into affection. He found himself looking forward to conversations during lunch breaks, community events, and charity visits. Clara challenged his assumptions with thoughtful ideas, encouraged his philanthropic efforts, and reminded him that leadership meant serving others. Despite his immense wealth, she never treated him differently from anyone else. Eventually Theodore realized he had discovered something rarer than success. He had found genuine love. One bright spring afternoon, surrounded by blooming gardens at one of the foundation's community centers, Theodore asked Clara to spend her life with him. There were no reporters, extravagant fireworks, or dramatic displays of luxury. Instead, there was sincerity, gratitude, and two people who had learned that true happiness could never be purchased. Clara accepted through joyful tears. News of their engagement spread rapidly across the city. Many expected Clara to seek revenge against those who had rejected her. Instead, she requested something entirely different. She asked Theodore to fund scholarship programs for children of domestic workers, provide professional development opportunities for household employees, and establish workplace dignity initiatives across every Grant International property. Theodore happily agreed because those dreams reflected exactly why he loved her. As preparations for the wedding continued, the Hawthorne family requested a private meeting with Clara. The atmosphere was painfully quiet. Vivian entered without her usual confidence. For the first time in her life, she struggled to find words. Eventually she admitted that pride had blinded her, power had corrupted her judgment, and jealousy toward anyone who displayed quiet strength had made her cruel. She apologized sincerely, expecting nothing in return. Clara listened carefully. She remembered every tear she had cried after losing her job. She remembered every rejection that followed. She remembered questioning her own worth. Then she also remembered the kindness that eventually changed her life. Instead of holding on to bitterness, Clara forgave Vivian. Forgiveness did not erase the past, but it freed both women from remaining prisoners of it. Vivian left with tears of relief, promising to rebuild her life with greater humility and compassion. The wedding took place beneath clear blue skies in a beautiful garden filled with families, co-workers, volunteers, and friends from every stage of Clara's journey. There were no exclusive guest lists separating wealthy people from ordinary workers. Former cleaners sat beside successful executives. Volunteers laughed alongside business leaders. Everyone celebrated not money, but the triumph of character. As Clara walked toward Theodore, many guests quietly wiped away tears. They were witnessing far more than a marriage. They were witnessing justice arriving without hatred, success achieved without arrogance, and love strengthened by every hardship that had once seemed unbearable. After the ceremony, Clara thanked every member of the service staff personally before greeting distinguished guests. That simple gesture reminded everyone present that no occupation determined a person's value. Respect belonged equally to every human being. Years later, Clara and Theodore transformed countless lives through education programs, employee protection policies, and charitable foundations supporting families facing hardship. People often admired their wealth, yet those who truly knew them understood that their greatest achievement was preserving kindness despite every reason to become bitter. The mansion that had once rejected Clara eventually partnered with Grant International's workplace reform initiatives. Employees experienced fair treatment, proper recognition, and opportunities for advancement. Even Vivian devoted herself to charitable work, determined to become the kind of person she once believed impossible. Before we reach the end of this journey, tell us in the comments, do you believe forgiveness makes a person stronger than revenge, or would you have made a different choice if you were in Clara's place? Your story and your perspective may encourage someone who is carrying a heavy burden today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. As the afternoon sun painted everything in warm golden light, Clara looked across the garden where laughter filled the air and families embraced one another. She realized the greatest miracle had never been becoming a billionaire's bride. The true miracle was refusing to let rejection change the goodness inside her heart. Wealth gave her comfort, love gave her happiness, but kindness gave her a legacy that would outlive every mansion, every fortune, and every title. And everyone who witnessed her journey walked away remembering one unforgettable truth: the world may reject a humble soul for a season, but character has a way of opening doors that pride can never unlock.